interviews from over the last 2 years, just highlights from different interviews, but not the women's highlights. That was amazing. But now a general interview highlights. We'll play a little bit of it, and we'll come back and we'll do some other stuff. We're gonna have such fun in part two. Part two is the fun part. You know that it's always the fun part. So here we go. Serena, show us what you got. Show us what you got, babe. Do you think things are finally picking up?
I think, you can't deny the positive things, but at the same time, also, we've still got a long way to go in terms of the industry respecting African cinema as it should be.
Absolutely.
We've been making good work for many years, and in a similar way to how the West is like kind of discovering quote unquote Korean and East Asian, K-pop and stuff. I'm like, this stuff has been there for so long. It's just that the West has been slow to pick it up. Yeah. I am kind of, I'm not surprised, but I'm kind of disappointed at the same time about how suddenly the Black Lives Matter movement doesn't matter anymore. We've had a real struggle getting press to talk about our festival.
Okay.
The same journalists who were reaching out to me, like pestering me last year, I reached out to them this year way in advance, like August, July, and none of them were responsive. It's kind of like
media. That's media. Media goes where if you bleed, they say if it bleeds, it leads. So media goes where it's hot, and then it tapers down, and something else is when something else happens, something else catastrophic, heaven forbid, happens, then you'll get all that interest again. But we don't want it to get to the point where somebody has to lose their life for there to be interest in our things. But the thing is that I think the same way, we didn't ask for permission to promote Afrobeat and music to the world. We just did it, and then the interest grew, and now it's a juggernaut. I think it's the same way.
I started. Glasgow is such a creative city, and there's such an amazing sort of culture again in terms of sort of music and so many opportunities.
That's my belief.
They're strong.
I'm not young. I'm not young, but I behave like young sometimes because I want young people to really see why they should face. They're born, and majority of them Pakistani diaspora.
Yeah.
They're born and brought up here, and a generation, their parents are born and here. And that there's no excuse when they've been asked to where you come from. So can you see that narrative is not shifted? And still people are judging you on your color. And sometimes I hear this nonsense, we don't see color. That's rubbish.
No, I see color, it's nice. I like my color.
Our color is identity,
Yes.
Why you don't see, we see it, but you don't see it. The younger generation.
All right, and all this saving the world you're doing, and all this, all the amazing work you're doing with people. How do you balance that with just your general life in general?
Well, I think you've got to have that degree of integrity, haven't you? And for me, what's very important is people, as I mentioned, helping people. And I like spending a lot of time with my family and helping my family make sure that they're doing very well as well.
I hear your family's very nice.
There's some highlights in there. Yeah.
What are the highlights? Tell me a highlight.
I could point an elbow at the highlights, but
go on then. Relax. Go on. Tell us about the highlights.
You want me to tell you, BB?
Yes, I do.
Well, so those of you who aren't aware, BB's my wife.
No.
And we have 2 absolutely amazing kids as well. So a very happy man.
Great. I like to
I've got to say that because she's kicking me on the table.
Literally am. Identity is a big, big, big thing now. So everybody's like, oh, yes, if they're here, even if they're contributing, it's changing the landscape. It's changing our identity. In about 20 years or 30 years, there will not be any real, quote unquote, British people anymore.
But should I shock you, baby? The truth of the matter is we're all immigrants.
From somewhere.
Because anytime somebody asks me, where are you from? I say I'm from Scotland. And if it's getting heated, I just walk away. And when I see people arguing about it, I say there's nothing to argue about. Go and ask your parents where their ancestors were from. It's as simple as that. We're all emigrated
from somewhere
and migrated. They will only say that because they know what they're gaining when Scotland is there. So it's like you have, in Africa, you have this house help. You don't like her, but you like her services, and you don't want her to go, and you keep abusing her.
Yes.
That's how Scotland is, and it's going to be liberated by the grace of God.
And then you have the ones who are like ignorant, completely ignorant. They truly have bought into the idea that England is supporting us and they're feeding us, and then they just throw out insults all the time.
I have the boldness, and I'm audacious to say that is untrue. The statistics that came for 2020 economic report says that we generated 100% electricity.
Yes.
We only used about 70%. The rest went to England. So who is feeding who? So that's why I'm saying that before, when I didn't have facts and figures,
you still had the love.
Yeah, the fact that it was welcoming for me,
yes.
it was warm to me, it accepted me. That I'm in this country today is because Scotland fought for me, my MP fought for me.
Platforms such as Jambo,
yes,
Jambo radio station, also, you're also showcasing and taking to the rest of the world the greatness that Africa.
Absolutely.
Africa is it's home to greatness, to song, to dance,
and so much culture. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's still really, really, really raw, and it's not even borrowed. It's still original. Yes.
We need to change the perception of who can be a scientist, who can study in STEM, also who can do well at school. Do you know? And that's, you're right. We still suffer from the ideas, as Daniela says. Think of a scientist, and we see this crazy guy with this like a caricature of Einstein with the hair and the lab coat, and it's about moving away from that, and we have that with chemists, with physicists, engineers. We think about a man with a boiler suit on and a toolbox, and I think we're doing that. We got some data from our students and said, is this working? Yeah, of course. Are your chemistry grades improving? But also, is this changing the perception of who can study chemistry? And the results were fabulous. But
so tell us about that.
So I've sneaked my laptop into the studio.
By all means.
So one of the questions we asked our 26 scholars was, is it promoting inclusion and diversity in chemistry and science? Okay. And 96% agreed. 67% strongly agreed, and 30% agreed. So that was great. One person neither agreed nor disagreed, and I'm
like, who are you?
I'm kind of heartbroken for that
you
person.
You can scan the class like it's you, isn't it?
But hey ho, it's ethically that's what they've answered, so that's fine. And just some of the data that we got was fabulous. Again, the scholarship, the statement was, do you agree the scholarship is positively changing perceptions on who can study chemistry? And again, 96% agreed or strongly agreed. So, we are making a very, very small difference. But like Daniela says, we take that first step. And with every scholarship we have, it's about, as I said, someone saying, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah,
of course I can. And I think that idea that if you don't see yourself, again, as a white male, there's hundreds of me in science and engineering. When I was an engineer, it was all just people like me. But if you don't see yourself represented in a space, you don't imagine it. Yeah, you don't see
representation
that's not a place for me.
So much.
Absolutely.
On this show, what we do, we have a segment called African Spotlight. So every week we focus on someone doing amazing things, and week after week we're coming up with these incredible examples of people doing all kinds of things, and they look like you, and they look, and we don't hear about these people outside of this circle.
We share the passion, we share love, and we love to see cricket sport as a fair and equal for everyone. Doesn't matter which ethnic background you come from.
Okay, so Paul, when was it established, and why do you think it was necessary to establish it?
So we came together in, I can't remember the exact date, but it was around late October, I think. It was in response to two things had happened just before it. First of all, you got the Azim Rafiq at Berkshire cricket, which was sort of the first real coverage on and then we had two former international players in Scotland speak out about their own experiences. And at that point, sort of started to talk about, well, this has been happening to me too. What can we do? And I think at that point we agreed, look, if we can come together and do something together, as opposed to all sharing individual stories, then we've got a chance here of taking advantage of the increased media coverage and the spotlight, and really starting to drive changes that just haven't happened for such a very long time.
All the events that have really coordinated,
yes,
they're very sentimental, they're very special,
yes,
and they're there to nurture and build to the growth of Botswana's music industry.
That's amazing. I mean, I can feel the confidence from you. That's just crazy. You're like crazy confident with what you do. You said everything you touch turns to magic, and that's a very bold statement. But I can feel that you really believe that, and it's true. Where the industry where it is now, are you happy with it? Do you see progress? Do you think that things that need to be done in the creative industry in Botswana, or are you happy with the progress where things are going?
What things are going, post-COVID, remember we had COVID, and COVID left a whole lot of, the whole world onto pause. We're all on a pause mode. I'm very happy that, the industry is fully open now in Botswana.
Okay.
And it gives us more time now to really regroup, and even though it has also brought a lot of positive change.
Yeah.
Right now we're on a digital migration space, and thanks to COVID, because we were so much used to not doing visual interviews or doing virtual and all that. So I'd like to believe that Botswana is on a good track as well. In terms of policies that advocates for the creative space, especially women, I think that we're a little bit behind.
Okay.
As an advocate that stands out to represent women for the contribution that they've done in my country, I would say that I would like to see in terms of acts and in terms of policies, women and the girl child being protected, and it being in black and white, that women should also have representation, have a quota to say, we should have an inclusion of women, especially in decision making, in decision making, and also into contributing to the development and the growth of the entertainment space, because I believe that women are equally capable to deliver in every field as their male counterparts. So I'd love to see an inclusion of women.
Spirit of rebellion was always there, and I think the art form, carnival, the art form of calypso, those were forms of rebellion, of looking at the society and singing about it, good, bad, so there are times with calypso that the politicians would be afraid that a calypsonian would sing about them, because it's normally based on something that they've done that's really stupid.
Yes,
and so the whole island would hear about it. Yes. So it was really a form. Even carnival sometimes was a form of mockery, of mocking the European, but adding another flair to it.
Yes.
So there's always been rebellion, there's always been that spirit of rebellion that has happened all the time.
Yes.
It's just the backlash that came after rebellion, it deterred it, but we have Haiti, and there's still. So we have the story of Haiti that is that island republic that fought for their freedom.
Absolutely.
So that's an example there.
More natural, the better. This is how we do it here in Scotland. We're like that. And this is Glasgow, so we're not Edinburgh. We're not Edinburgh. We're not. High and mighty. This is Glasgow. We're down to earth in Glasgow, so it's cool. It's really cool.
Hoping that when practitioners look at this book, they'll be able to employ the dual structure of peace. Okay. In as much as we're fighting, in as much as we're trying to prevent conflict and address conflicts in hotspots, at the same time, let's take out time to build capacity for peace in places that are not yet threatened. So I'm hoping that as individuals and as organizations, as practitioners, we will start projecting peace as the dual structure that it is, and not just focus on threats of conflict. Because you know what happens? If you're focusing on the threat to conflict,
you're neglecting.
The conflict might not happen, but it has already gone so far deep in that whatever action we bring in are actually patchwork. So let's have a dual structure.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping people would see it as valuable as you're doing conflict management, violence prevention.
Yes.
You don't speak with someone trying to prevent fighting with a person.
Right.
You want to build meaningful coexistence.
I'm not Jamaican. I'm like, oh, I'm Jamaican. I don't know, like, why am I so involved? Why am I so invested? I don't know. It's just something about Jamaicans. And we all think every Caribbean person is Jamaican. They're like, listen, we're not Jamaican. Okay. Why do we do that? But yeah, it must be nice. It's kind of like inherited cool. Like, yeah. It's part of my swag. I can claim,
Yeah.
I mean, for you. I don't for me. I mean, for you.
No, totally. And again, it's that sort of the richness of the culture, as you say, music, sport. Well, I guess music and sport are connectors anyway, aren't they?
Yes.
Music and sport bring the world together.
They do.
They do.
They do indeed. So there's so much African mythology, all the gods, all the legends, all the historical figures that we don't really put on the screen or as much. So do you think the industry is going there finally? Because I know we did contemporary work for a long time. Do you think we're going historical section?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, first of all. And it seems to be much more successful in literature. So the African literature world is just so chock full and rich of that variety.
Yes.
Film is a bit more difficult because of expense, because of, there are gaps in certain knowledge bases around, that era. But it's getting better and better. I think a lot of our old artifacts are still in Europe. There's still things that are missing that could help us create those stories more accurately. But this is changing. So Viola Davis is producing a new film. I think it's called King Women. About the Dahomey Kingdom and the female warriors that were there. So, and then also, for example, in our film, we've got a short film called, in our film festival, we have a short film called Arachnid, which is about two gods. So an Ashanti goddess called Ama. And her estranged ex-boyfriend Anansi, who's the
Anansi, who's like the legend of Anansi. All right, so this is the fun part. We're rounding up.
Yeah.
So quick questions and just answer straight from the heart, straight from the hip. Just first thing comes to your mind, okay? A few questions. You ready? Okay.
Yeah. If you begin to see that every single person you come across, they're just looking for the best for themselves, you begin to think about how can you contribute to helping this person. Just you want to do your best for your own self, and in doing that, you're mindful not to hurt people on the way as well.
Yeah.
But how can we also, especially if you're in a position of power, create an enabling environment for those behind you to be able to achieve what they want to achieve as well?
Right.
But like, it started with me writing, not being able to even get arrested for the acting roles that I wanted to get arrested for. Like, I just couldn't. Everyone's like, oh, you're a New York actor, so you did like Law and Order, right? And it's like, no, Law and Order wants nothing to do with it.
No one has a body. No one has a body.
Not even a dead body on Law and Order. I could not get it. I couldn't get anything. Look at these directors, and they all started out, their first projects were all modest, independent films. They were really able to display their voice, and like kind of like bring their voice. And so I was like, okay, got it. So I did, and that was the beginning of Queen.
Yes.
Make sure. Yeah.
So we talked about the superimposition of the footage. We talked about that, and then taking off the hair. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I was like, when is her hair coming out? When's her hair coming out? And then it came out. It was beautiful. It was glorious. And that was a great moment. That was a great moment.
This is Jambo Radio,